And joining us now on the next woman up, coming off a career high 21 points against UIW, TCU guard Donovan Hunter. Donovan, thanks for joining. How's it going?
Thanks for having me. It's going good.
Good.
Good, good. And we'll get right into it here. I know Melissa gets to kind of cover you guys regularly. For me, I got to see you guys last year in Birmingham. So it's pretty cool to see you with the Elite Eight down there. But, you know,
Mhm.
coming right back this season, 9-0 on the year. What's been the secret to the early success building off of last year's Elite Eight appearance? And what's different about this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a lot of transfers coming in, but they all have experience at their old schools. So we all kind of collectively already had the same mindset and the same goal going into season. We didn't necessarily know how we were going to mesh together because there are so many new people. But we kind of had a pre-team talk before actual preseason started on what our goals were. And we all knew that we wanted to make a very good run, kind of repeat what we did last year, knowing that we did have a different squad. So I'm glad that we're on the right track. But ultimately, completely different team than last year. Way more pieces, different styles of play. So it's cool to watch it unfold, especially being able to see two different, completely different teams pull it off. So.
You talk about two different teams and different, completely different looks, but you guys probably have very similar goals. You've made back-to-back Elite Eight appearances. I don't know if people give you enough credit for that, two different schools. And, you off to the start that you guys are, it looks like you have a shot to make a third. Your teammate, Haley Van Lith, kind of became known as Miss Elite Eight, right? Like, is that something that you kind of look to carry on that tradition and make that run again in year three?
Yeah, it's funny because when we all opened up social media when we saw Miss Elite Eight, so it's kind of like a running joke every time we saw her, like, "Hello, Miss Elite Eight." Ultimately, no. I think my mindset's always just win the game that I have to play one day at a time. So, I mean, it'd be funny if Miss Elite Eight was carried on just because it was kind of a joke amongst my locker room. But again, at the end of the day, it's wanting my team to succeed. If that's the Elite Eight, then that's awesome. My goal is obviously further than that. I feel like now I'm on a slump of just the Elite Eight, so hopefully I
Just the
can reach
Elite
the
Eight.
goal
It's
of
fine.
something more. But really, I don't pay attention to any of that stuff. So
And you talked about Miss Elite Eight, Haley, obviously, in Birmingham last year. We spoke to Coach Mark Campbell about just kind of the transfer window and the success that TCU has had with that. And again, you see this year bringing in Olivia and Marta as two big players that you all brought in. What's it been like playing with them so far? And what are those kind of different looks that they bring to the team?
yeah, I mean, it's fun playing with those two. I think this year I've stepped into a different role, especially more in a different position. I think within Mark's system, it kind of flows through. So anyone can really do anything at any point. But I've been so used to being kind of that point guard role, where I'm having the stressors of, okay, I have to create for the team. So I've been loving, playing the two guard, being able to be off ball. Let Olivia do her thing. Marta's so dominant on the ball. She's probably the most aggressive player I've played with, where even in practice, she is wanting to score that ball. So I think it's fun and it's allowing me to kind of step into a new role of looking to score for myself, knowing that the two guard is more dominant on scoring for the team and making the right reads and taking the right shots. So it's been really fun for me so far.
You talked about Coach Campbell and his system, and obviously it was a draw that got you to TCU. It's been a draw for a lot of great players in the transfer portal, but it seems like it's more than just how he coaches basketball. It's the culture that he's built. What can you tell us about playing for Mark behind the scenes, not just what he does for you guys on the court?
Yeah, I mean, the culture is through the roof. I've been very grateful to where my first school that I was at and here, the culture of the girls and the teammates that I had were just amazing. And then I heard all of their horror stories from other schools where I was like, I thought just a good culture was just everywhere so I realized I got lucky. And ultimately it comes from he just squashes drama right then and there. He doesn't like any attitudes. He doesn't like ego. And he kind of nips it in the butt really fast. So I think that's a testament to creating a good culture. He also knows, what girls he wants to bring in, and he really values what our what our morals are and how we represent ourselves. And that's kind of, he won't recruit someone, whether they have the most basketball skill in the basketball world, if he knows that they're going to bring in a bad attitude or an ego or be selfish. So I think it's testament to him. And I've gotten lucky these 2 years where I've had amazing teammates. So it's good.
And one thing we know about Mark is that if you're going to play, you got to play defense. And, again, we said this is coming after the 21-point game that you had against UIW, and the offense gets all the attention. But I want to talk about defense for a second here, Dono. 69, that defensive rate. I think that's 98th percentile in the entire country, holding opponents to shooting 32.2% from the field. How big of an emphasis is defense at TCU and under Mark Campbell?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a lot, especially this season, as we do have goals to, hopefully make it beyond the Elite Eight. We realize to reach that, you have to play defense. Our system is so offensive based. We really do rely on the 3-point game, and if that's not there, driving in the paint. And so we know ultimately we have a lot of weapons that we can use on the offensive end, and it's mainly trying to figure out a connection amongst the team of how do we defend, what are our defensive strengths, what player can do what tasks, so that way it's not just a lot of pressure on one person. So we've emphasized it a lot, because I mean, I'm a firm believer that defense wins games. Offense gets things going, but at the end of the day, you have to get a stop, otherwise they're going to outscore you. So we're definitely creating more of a mindset defensively. We still have things as a team that we want to work on, but ultimately we're heading in the right direction.
You're always going to give credit to the team, but we know that that defensive intensity starts with you. And that was true a season ago, and it's remained true this year. In fact, seems that your defensive rating has improved each year that you've been on the floor, even as you're playing a little bit of a different role this year. It's obviously still a focus. College players that want to go to that next level, so often talk about defense being a source of pride, but not always willing to put in the work to make that look like the source of pride. How would you describe what that ability means to you and why you've made it such a focal point of what you do on the floor?
Yeah, I think when I was younger and I first started basketball, defense was just something that was always put in my head. So I naturally think of it that way, and that's why it's funny when I, always hear like, "Oh, Donnie, you're doing great on defense," because to me, it's just something that I feel like I have to do. But it's the one thing that I can control in the game of basketball. We can't control if we miss a shot or if we absolutely whiff a layup. We turn it over. There's a lot of things that come with the game of basketball, but to me, defense is something that I can control. It's simply effort based and being intentional with it. So I take a lot of pride, especially my role on the team is to stop ball, and that kind of gets the things going. If I let people just drive by me, it sends everybody into a scramble. So ultimately, it's kind of me just recognizing like this is my role, this is something that I can do, and I kind of have an IQ that is more focused on the defensive end, so I'm able to kind of make up for things if teammates are put into a scramble. So I love it. I love defense. I'm the weird person in practice that likes when we're doing a defensive drill, which sounds crazy, but it's helped. So
I'm gonna need you to come to my practice this week and run some defense with my girls,
yeah,
please. Get them to love defense as much as you
convince them
do.
that defense is good. Yeah.
Well, you would confuse a lot of people because it seems like you love offense too, especially with your play this season to start off. Just you can look at any statistic you want from your year Oregon State to last year to this year, and it's just like, nope, breakout season, career high, career high. I realize right now it's 9 games in. There's a lot of time here, but your usage, your effective field goal percentage, your per is doubled. Did you talk about heading into the season that, hey, I know I'm going to be playing off ball because Olivia's here. I know I'm going to be kind of like the number two, number three option some night? Or is that just something that kind of has happened organically throughout camp and to start the season?
I mean, it was never firmly like talked about, but I knew how good Olivia was, and I know her skill is in a lot of places, but her IQ and her vision is crazy. So I knew I would have more of a role off ball. And I was honestly totally fine with it. I had raw conversations with coaches and even my parents and honestly myself of like what were my weaknesses that I really wanted to focus on. And I wasn't an aggressive scorer. I wasn't someone that's like, give me the ball so I can shoot it. that's just never been me. So that's something that I was wanting to force myself to do. So it honestly worked out great that Olivia did come. I mean, it forces me when the ball comes, you either got to shoot it and be efficient with it because you never know when she's going to pass you the ball. Um, so it's been great for me, but ultimately it's more of a mindset of I'm glad that I'm able to reach a goal that I set for myself in the off season, and it ended up just being something that was organically occurring for me.
I have kind of a follow up on that. You talk about, starting to hear that Olivia might be coming and you know what her skill set is and what she's good at. You got so comfortable in your role a year ago where, sometimes it was your job to bring the ball up, sometimes it wasn't, but your role was very defined, it felt like on the offensive end. When you start knowing, hey, there might be someone coming in that's going to make me change my position, how do you handle that as a player? I mean, there's obviously, I'm sure there were people giving you calls. I'm sure there would have been a lot of interest for you at other places. What made you decide to stay? Was it that wanting to challenge yourself, or was it culture? Why be willing to change roles after having so much success last year?
Yeah, I think especially in the world of sports, it's crazy with how fast kids can just transfer and leave when something doesn't sound ideal to them. I mean, my situation of leaving my first school at Oregon State, unfortunately, the conferences and everything. So it's kind of one of those like I do want to push myself and continue to be in a Power Four level. So that's kind of my reason of transferring. But I've never been someone that shies away from something that makes me feel uncomfortable. And that was another thing that I talked with my parents on when I came to TCU on like I don't want to stay in Oregon. I don't want to be in a complacent place where I'm extremely comfortable. I want to be able to say I finished college and I expanded myself and I forced myself to do things that doesn't sound always as confident as I think it could. So, you do hear Olivia Miles comes in, you're like, okay, my role with I used to bring the ball up a little bit. How is that going to work? But ultimately, I welcomed it with open arms. I knew that it was going to force me to work on things that I necessarily wasn't working on, and that was having more of an offensive mindset. And now I'm really glad that I decided to stay. It wasn't even a thought to go in the first place, but I'm loving playing with her, and it's helped me grow a ton.
I think that attitude's probably a big reason why Mark has called you the backbone of this team. One of the very few returning players in this squad, a true veteran after being the youngest player, and still
Right.
probably one of the youngest players on one of the oldest teams in college basketball, right?
Yeah.
But you've talked a lot throughout the off season and this early season about you talk about wanting to be uncomfortable, being more vocal. That's not necessarily something that we saw out of you a season ago. But you wanted to be more vocal, wanted to be more of a leader. Do you feel like you're stepping into that role? And how are you taking comfort in now being a veteran leader on this team?
Yeah, I mean, I remember telling you that that was one of my goals of trying to be more vocal, and it's funny because if you get to know me as a person, I can talk all day, and I will ramble for hours. But I think when it comes to on-court things, I'm more of a lead by action. And so last year it was a struggle for me because I'm like, okay, I am really young on a very old team, and I'm new, and I'm learning the system, and I'm trying to learn the plays. So where can I fit in the balance of how can I go and order someone to do something if I don't necessarily know myself? So I was glad again this year that I was, a very select few of the players that were returning. I was able to understand the system, know that I could from the jump when the first day of summer workout started, where I just was consistent. And so I got comfortable in knowing that I showed up every day and I was consistent and I was doing the things that I could. So when I do give constructive criticism to a teammate or I'm able to talk them through something, it's coming from just a good place in my heart. It's not me trying to boss them around. So I've grown a ton in that and knowing I'm not bossing people around. I'm just ultimately wanting to help the team in any way I can. So it's been going great so far. I still get reminders sometimes to talk a little bit more, but it's getting there. So
Perfect. And I want to talk about the next level for a little bit. I know that you said, "Hey, I'm just kind of focused on playing the next game that we have," and like you hear that like next game up, okay, on to the next one. We get that memory of a goldfish. I understand it, and you have this year to focus on. But is playing pro the goal for you? Is that something that you want to do? And is it kind of like, "Hey, I want to be in the W," or "Hey, I'm open to WNBL," or like what's that kind of the end goal for you there come at the end of next season?
yeah, great question. I mean, ultimately, yes, going pro is the goal. You play this sport for so long. It's like, why, it's weird at the thought of like, okay, if college finish, just being done. But again, I think my backstory with sports, and I've had a few injuries in the past where I've matured a ton and realizing, sports is something that's awesome and it's led me to so many opportunities and I've learned a lot. And my goal is to make it pro. But my mindset of like one day at a time is a genuine mindset that I do have just because injuries, I realized it could be taken away like that. So I have a healthy mindset of like my goal is to just do my part, work really hard, try to reach the goals that I have. But in the end, if it doesn't work out in the future, I'm totally positive about that. But ultimately, yes, as of right now, my goal is to work towards going pro.
What are some of the things that you want? You've talked about a little bit about some of the things that you want to work on, of becoming more of a scoring threat, becoming more of a score first guard. What are some of the things that you want to see continue to improve over the next year and a half, so that you do have that opportunity to reach that goal if it remains something that's attainable?
Yeah, it's funny. We actually in practice today wrote down things that we wanted to work on a piece of paper. So I'll pretty much recite what I wrote on that paper.
Perfect. You're welcome.
Thanks. But no, I mean, kind of repeats again, continuing to do leadership, be more vocal, step into that role. But I think still for me, as I'm, my shot attempts are slowly increasing and, I'm the box score is showing points by my name. I think I'm still always emphasizing trying to stay more aggressive. I think I leave games sometimes and I'm like, okay, there was this moment where I passed it up, but I could have shot it, or there was a gap in this moment and during this play where I could have attacked it a little more. I talked on my paper, or I wrote on my paper that I wanted to, increase my free throw attempts, and that ultimately we talk about all the time in practice, where that requires me to attack the rim. So that's something that I'm wanting to improve on because I do understand if I do want to play pro, I want to be able to be efficient in multiple ranges of my game and not just relying on a 3-point shot or just relying on defense. So my goal is to just make myself as comfortable as possible in all ranges, just so that way I don't have to just rely solely on one thing.
And we kind of wrap each one of these interviews up with a rapid fire session. But before we get to that, I need to ask you something else. We can let your brain get ready for the rapid fire a little bit. They're nice, fun questions, I promise. But how much does the marketing kind of go into that as far as being a pro? Like you see a lot of players, they're everywhere, whether they're doing the tunnel fits, whether they're advocating for a lot, they're showing up at different events. Is that something that like you've noticed that kind of changing or kind of people talking to you a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think, if you asked maybe 30 years ago, marketing probably wasn't dominant at all. But we do live in a time where marketing is huge. Ultimately, as basketball players, we have to do our part on the court, but it's also getting yourself out there where, fans and coaches and organizations can see you in more of a deeper way and not just like, oh, she can bounce a ball. So I think I've definitely had more conversations of the marketing end and how important it is to kind of put yourself out there. So people are able to understand you a little bit more than just being an athlete. So I'm slowly getting comfortable with that, being able to understand the marketing part. But I think a lot of girls, especially in my age group, have done an amazing job of, like you said, they're pretty much everywhere. You see them all the time. And I think that just comes with, again, how you're performing on the court, and then the rest will follow. So,
All right, you
Where,
ready for the tough stuff now?
yeah, I'm
all
ready.
right,
Hit you
we
with
will
some hard
trade
ones.
off. Um, Yeah, we'll get started with this. We'll go back and forth.
Okay.
The next woman up hot seat, you're in it. Let's go. So we saw last year against Louisville, you hit the three and you hear a dagger Hunter. So I need to know, to end a game, would you want to end it with a big three to end the game or a big steal to end the game?
Oh gosh. I know I said I'm defensive minded, but I would love that 3-point.
All right, Donna, who's your dream 3-on-3 team to play alongside?
Oh gosh. Pro or college? I know I'm asking
Anyone.
there's questions. Okay. Um, Sabrina, just because that's fellow Oregon girl. Dang, 3-on-3. Reagan Beers, I'm gonna have to say, I don't know how she would do 3-on-3, but she can catch that ball. And I've also seen her, she's improved her outside shooting too, former teammate. And then I would say, oh gosh. I would say live.
I wouldn't want to play you guys. That'd be
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah, it's
nasty
kind of hard to
group.
guard. Yeah.
Yeah, saw Reagan had a big game last night for Oklahoma there. And okay, next one here. One thing I always look at, the first thing is I always want to know what shoes players are wearing. I see you wear Kobe's on the court. What makes a good basketball shoe to you?
Oh, it's a great question. I do love Kobe's. I wear a pair of GT cuts at the moment, I believe. Really, it's just whatever my foot is comfortable in. My foot is kind of wide on that end, so anything that does not bother my foot is something that I like. I really could care less about the drip of it. Kobe's are a great shoe, so they end up looking nice on my feet, but they're just something that I'm comfortable in.
Who is the funniest player on TCU's team this year?
Oh gosh, that's hard. This is not rapid fire, but I have a lot of funny people on my team.
I was to say there's a lot of characters in this
There
group,
are.
so it's
This is
tough.
actually a very surprising answer, but Nat on my team is the
Okay.
funniest person you will ever meet, but you have to like be in the circle to actually understand. So maybe you'll see it eventually.
Yeah, I'll keep working towards that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Over the past couple of days, we saw people dropping their Spotify Wrapped and their Apple Wrapped. Who would be the top artist on your Wrapped?
I actually was telling my teammates this. Surprisingly, somehow, I don't even know how I got on there. My number one artist was Justin Bieber, and I don't even remember listening to Justin Bieber that much, but he was up there. So, but mine's pretty random. My music realm is very just scrambled. So at the moment, it was Justin Bieber, apparently.
Justin Bieber. Never would have guessed that one.
Exactly.
If I'm taking a visit out to Medford, which I've actually been through Medford before, what's the number one place I got to stop and check out?
Food wise, or just anywhere?
Anywhere.
Food wise, I would take you to Kaleidoscope. It's kind of like a pizza-ish place. It's amazing. And then I would probably take you to one of the, I'll say a lake, Crater Lake. Absolutely beautiful.
Oh, yeah,
It's a little bit
absolutely.
outside of Medford, but I would definitely take you there.
You talk to media a lot. We saw an interview recently with Autumn. With Autumn, we know you speak to Melissa and them at practice. What question you ask the most by media?
I feel like I mean, as of recent, I've been asked a lot on, my role and being a return on TC. I think that's kind of commonly asked. I get asked a lot about defense, what my mindset is on that. It kind of varies, but those are like the two most popular ones that I hear all the time.
All right, you're on a long plane ride coming back from a tournament or something. What are you listening to or watching to pass the time?
Apparently Justin Bieber, I don't know. But also I actually am hooked on real estate shows, but it's like the reality ones. So Selling Sunset, any of those shows, that's the only thing I download on my phone. So
Do you like a good like house flipping show? Are you more into like
yes.
Property Brothers? What?
Yes, I love Chip and Joanna Gaines.
Okay.
I grew up watching that. That was like my favorite show in the morning that I would watch. So anything home related, I will sit down and watch with anybody.
I've got some great restoration accounts for you to follow on TikTok. Don't
Okay.
worry, I'll hook you up.
Okay, perfect.
All right, and the last one we have for you here. If you were not listening to Justin Bieber, watching Chip and Joanna Gaines, and you were just like, "Hey, I'm going to watch film of one WNBA player on this entire trip," which player are you watching? Whose game do you really admire?
I feel like this is a repeating answer. I would say Sabrina, but for the fact of obviously she's a great player, but she does everything. And specifically in college, I mean, she broke the record with triple doubles. And I'm more of a player that's like, how can I effort wise impact the game on not just scoring? So I think admiring her play within that and seeing what gaps she took, how did she get rebounds, where was she at what point on the floor to do all those things. And she's just a smart basketball player. So ultimately her, my younger self watched her all the time at Oregon. So I think I would watch a lot of film on her.
It's pretty cool that your player that you admire the most also happens to be
Right.
coached by your current
By
coach.
Mark. I
That's
know,
got to be pretty
ironically.
helpful for you, I would think.
Yeah.
Donovan, thank you so much for taking some time. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I feel very fortunate that I get to do it more often than most.
Right.
But we appreciate just who you are on and off the court and just willing to spend some time and hang out with us on the next Woman Up.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me.